Hello, hello, Aldwyn Altuney here. Welcome to Media Queen TV. We have Ken Kleinberg with us all the way from the United States of America. And we interviewed each other actually last week. And now we've got another interview with Ken, which is going to be also amazing. I know people love the last interviews. They were sharing like crazy and saying they've transformed their lives. So today we're going to chat about the truth behind the obesity epidemic. A little bit about Ken before we hear from Ken. Now, his own transformation has been massive. He actually lost 62.5 pounds or released 62.5 pounds of weight, and he's kept it off now for 5 years. And he's had years of learning and lots of deep research. He actually shows people how to completely change the way they think about losing weight or releasing weight and how they also look at food. He does this by showing them how to completely sidestep the broken health and wellness system out there. Some people call it sickness system because it's clearly keeping people stuck. He shows how to have the right mindset to have around this journey of releasing weight and also looking at food differently so that once the scale starts moving and the weight is gone, it's gone for good because you've now completely changed from the inside out. Ken gives you the tools for the changes to last a lifetime. He has a great show called Patriot Fat Fighter Ken, and we're just discussing co-hosting a show together. So stay tuned for that ongoingly. Welcome, Ken.
Hello, Aldwyn, and I also want to take the opportunity to thank you so much because I understand it's kind of a rare thing for you to do interviews back to back to back like this with the same person. And so I feel very privileged that you have chosen to at least do that a few times with me. And so I just want to say that I'm very, very privileged to be back on here with you again. And to be able to talk about this topic, the real truth behind the obesity epidemic. This is going to be a powerful and very fun episode.
Yeah, fantastic, Ken. It's my pleasure. You're absolutely welcome. And, it is unusual for me to do, the interview with the same person 2 weeks in a row. So this is where we've now got the idea of actually doing a show together moving forward. That's going to be awesome. Can't wait to launch that. So stay tuned for that one. And yes, the truth behind the obesity epidemic. This is massive. I can't wait to see what you have to say about this. Now, why this topic today, Ken? Why did you choose this?
Because I feel like a lot of people, they need to know what's really going on. So, I mean, kind of give a little bit of a nutshell. Yes, part of the obesity epidemic is our own fault. But there's also a bigger, a much more massive part to it than I think a lot of people realize. I think there are some people that have no clue just how corrupt the health and wellness system is out there, because the truth is, they're never going to offer you a solution, the real true solution to releasing weight, to being healthy. They are only, everywhere you look, going to give you Band-Aids because it keeps you coming back. Same with the diet system that people sell out there and these fad doctors with their diets and all this other stuff. It's all a bunch of bunk, because honestly, how many people do you know are able to release the weight and then be successful at keeping it off for good? I don't know very many people that have those kind of stories. Sure, people lose weight all the time, but they don't keep it off. And that's because that system is just simply literally designed to make these big tech food corporations money. That's all they care about. They really do not have our best interest in mind. So that's one of the reasons, excuse me, one of the reasons why I am so very passionate about bringing this topic tonight, because I think there's a lot of questions that we're going to be going over tonight. As a matter of fact, there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main questions. So the first one that I will be handling is, how did we get here? The second one is actually a twofold question, and we're going to be talking about why is this such a problem and why does it continue to be a problem? Then we're going to dive deeper, and we are going to dive into why there are highly addictive ingredients being put into our food. Then we're going to dive deeper, and we're going to talk about why are we not seeing big companies promote real whole foods and real nutritious foods. I think that's a really interesting question to ask. And then lastly, diving even deeper, we are going to be talking about why is there such a big agenda in the direction of processed food, boxed food, sugar-filled foods, fried and breaded foods, etc. So it's going to be kind of just like layered, where we just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, because I think these are very valid questions to be asking around the truth around the obesity epidemic.
Yeah, wow, hot topics. And, it reminds me of the Fit for Life book that I read years ago, chapter 10. It was talking about the dairy industry and how we're not meant to be suckling from cows for life, which really makes a lot of sense. We don't think of when we have milk that we're suckling from a cow, but, if you actually have that visual in your head, it kind of makes you wonder, right? And
Right.
we're told there's a lot of calcium. We're told about all the iron in meat, etc. And I know that's a whole other topic we can dive into, is the benefit, pros and cons of meat and of say live foods. And in one of my old mentors, a guy called Don Tolman, he talks about the benefits of eating whole foods, eating raw foods with live enzymes. And, you eat live food, it gives you energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So fascinating. So let's start at the top, Ken, and go through this.
All right. So, excuse me, you guys. So before I dive into all of this, I am going to give a very short, small little disclaimer. There are some things that I may be discussing that may make you squirm, may make you kind of have that cognitive distance. Like, I cannot believe the system is that corrupt. And you're going to be sitting back in your chair just shaking your head. So just warning for that as well. Also, there are a couple things that I'm going to be discussing on this episode that may ruffle your feathers a little bit. We're going to be talking about a little bit about kids menus and kids things and different things like that. And some of you that may have children out there, my intention is not to frustrate you. My intention is to maybe, yes, ruffle your feathers a little bit and really get you thinking and asking the right questions to maybe make the proper corrections that you need to make in your daily lives. So with that, we're going to dive in here. And we're going to talk about how did we get here? Honestly, one step at a time, one choice at a time. And the other thing is by slow programming from the industry, as well as complacency on our part. Yes, I just said that. Complacency on our part. We have a role to play in this too. The obesity epidemic just didn't get there because you got the food corporations out there that just don't have our best interests in their mind. It got there because we got complacent. We stopped asking the hard questions. We stopped looking at the data ourselves. Instead, we got to the point to where we see a shiny article out there, looks good, feels good, everything, and then we just accept it as truth. And the same goes for TV and news stations and different things like that that are talking about so-called health things. Do you actually go and look up what they're trying to sell you on food and really find out if it's in the best interest for you? Or do you just accept it? And that's kind of where our part comes in. We can no longer just be complacent and just accept what we're being told is healthy and what's not healthy, because these companies really do not have our best interest in mind. The only thing that they have in mind is their pocketbooks. And that's really what it comes down to. And our health has taken a big toll because of complacency. So yes, a large part of it is the food companies. The food corporations and the big tech food corporations. Yes, a large part of it is, but we also have a role to play as well. We cannot sit around and be complacent anymore. We must get off our feet and start looking at the data ourselves and asking the hard questions. Okay, we have people that are now addicted to the foods out there that are causing obesity, that are causing heart disease, that are causing diabetes and high blood pressure. And Americans are just blindly eating the foods that they're told to eat. And that's why 70 to 80% of Americans, probably much more than that, are overweight and obese and have lots of health issues. And honestly, it's we are just as much to blame as these big food corporations, government, and big pharma. You know, another way that we got here is consistent advertising in our face. Some of you are sitting back in your chairs and going, well, duh, you know, I kind of figured that as well. But we've got everything from billboards, commercials, ads that are we're always being bombarded by these things. You know, the funny thing is I never see them advertise anything that's like really honestly healthy for you. It's always the next burger or the next burrito or this or that, you know.
Yes.
And then you've got subliminal messages that are going on out there all the time. And these little subliminal messages, we don't even know half the time they're going inside our heads, but they are, and they're programming us. And then lastly, how we got here is addictive ingredients. Literally, high fructose corn syrup, partially hydrogenated oils, MSG, salt are among the highest on the list, especially high fructose corn syrup and sugar. As a matter of fact, those two things are just as addictive as opiates and heroin and cocaine.
Wow.
And they're being put in our foods. Not just being put in our foods, added, unnecessary sugar added to our foods, unnecessary high fructose corn syrup added to our foods. And these companies continue to add these addictive ingredients into the products that keep people coming back for more. Why? Because it fills their pocketbook. It does not make us healthier. It does not give us nutrition. It fills their pocketbooks. And that's, you know, but what's worse is that they have no thought to the harm that it's doing to the overall population. No thought whatsoever. They are complicit or complacent themselves in the very message that they put out and the very things that they are doing. And they have no interest in changing that anytime soon. So who has got to do it? We have got to. We have got to stand up and make decisions that promote more of a healthier lifestyle. There's a big lack in the overall care of the people's health and well-being. And this is why I really believe it's time to put a stop to that. And it's time to bring awareness on what's actually going on out there in the industry. So let's move on to my next question. Why is this such a problem, and why does it continue to be a problem? Besides the fact that we must make better choices, reprogram ourselves, and form a right and better mindset around food and having that mindfulness around our food, it's a big problem. It's also a big problem because the industry continues to place a higher and higher emphasis on foods that are making people obese and foods that are causing major health problems. And people continue to buy into what they are selling and tempting us with over and over and over again. And it's literally in front of your face all the time. In addition, a lot of the foods, as I was just saying, a lot of foods that they advertise in people's faces are full of very addictive ingredients. You know, I said I was going to mention the children, and here's the part where I'm going to mention it. Have you ever noticed? And I really want you to think about this, guys. Have you ever noticed in most fast food places and even restaurants out there, the kids' menus are full of mostly breaded and fried foods and things that are just not the best choice. There are very, very few healthy items on the kids menu. And I literally have to sit here and go, why? Why is that okay? And just simply why? One might say, well, my kids really don't like the more healthy choices, and it's hard to get them to eat healthier foods. Well, my question to that again is why? Why are people not placing more importance on teaching their kids good and healthy eating habits? Don't your kids mean that much to you? Aren't the kids our future generation? What the future is going to look like? What do you want that to be? I think a lot of parents need to make more of an effort on teaching their kids these things. Now, am I saying you can't take them out and have them let their hair down and go get them a pizza or something like that? Absolutely not. There's a time and place for those things. And you got to have fun. Okay. It's not about making unreasonable expectations, but it's about teaching your kids the balances that are out there, what's healthy and what's not, and why there should be a balance around that. And, why are parents so easily just letting their kids eat food choices that are not healthy for them? In a book that I've got coming out, which is actually talking about the real truth behind the obesity epidemic, I actually mentioned there's a photo that I saw a while back, and I will never forget when I saw this photo and what my eyes were seeing. My heart literally sunk because I'm like, why is that okay? It was this kid. He must have been like maybe 11, 12 years old. And he's like literally roly-poly. And surrounding him in the photo was a bunch of McDonald's fries and a bunch of burgers and everything else. And I just remember looking at that photo and my heart sank. I'm like, that's so sad. Why is that okay? Why are the parents letting this kid be so obese and overweight and eat this food that's causing all of that? This is not okay, guys. And so, again, my point is not to make you parents out there angry. It's like, how dare you step on my toes and tell me I'm not raising my kid right? That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is I think these are questions that we need to ask. And my point is to maybe make you more aware of these things so that you can begin making those changes. So here's a quote from a website. It's called bigthink.com. And if you've never been there before, this is a website that has lots of really amazing resources on their site and truths in the food industry and different things like that. I highly recommend you go check this site out and you do some digging for yourself on the site. They have lots of stuff on food and different things like that. Really great site. But here's a quote from an article on that site. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation spends $100 million fighting childhood obesity in this country. The food corporation, the food industry, spends that in 4 days to promote junk food and processed food. And the worse the food is for you, the more they advertise and promote that. I'm going to repeat that one more time so it sinks in. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation spends over $100 million fighting childhood obesity in this country. The food industry spends that in 4 days to promote junk food and processed food. And the worse the food is for you, the more they advertise and promote it. So, yeah.
Huge. That is huge. Wow.
That is very big.
So we talk about media programming. This is health programming. This is all what they call health, right? It's actually one big lie. It's a big lie. And the minute you wake up to the lie, you can actually do something about it. You can actually make different choices, right? So this is gold, what you're sharing here, Ken. Brilliant. And I'll put that bigthink.com link here. They also have a section you can subscribe there and get updates from them. So just pop your email in there and check out. That looks like an amazing site, bigthink.com.
Yeah, it's a very good site. I discovered that a while back in my researching. But now let's move on to the next question. Why are there highly addictive ingredients being put into our food? We kind of briefly discussed this a little earlier. Another quote. One of the primary reasons why most of us are overweight is due to how our food is made. The American diet is highly processed and it is absolutely packed with obesity-causing ingredients such as sugar and high fructose corn syrup. And it is well documented that some of the additives that they put into our food are highly addictive and actually make you want to eat more. In fact, it has been reported that some of the additives are about as addictive as opiates, heroin, and cocaine. Surprise, surprise. The big food corporations want us to eat as much as possible because when we eat more of their food, they make more money. That is coming from a website called Silver Doctors, and it's on their article entitled, "Is There a Multi-Billion-Dollar Conspiracy to Make Americans Obese?" Another quote from bigthink.com, "It's hard to fight that when government subsidies are supporting high fructose corn syrup production and trans fat, when you're standing at the fast food restaurant and the government is standing right there with you, buying your cheeseburger and fries and soda, but they're not standing with you at the produce aisle because there are no subsidies for fruits and vegetables." That's from bigthink.com again. From the research that I've done, guys, and the digging that I've done, is all by design. This obesity epidemic, this overweight epidemic, it's all by design. And their purpose is to make people eat more of that food and buy more of their food, which then, because of poor eating habits that have been formed from the obesity causing ingredients, it causes people to eventually become overweight and or obese. And then as people are buying more of these kinds of foods and getting overweight and obese, where does all that money go? And you know what? This is an important question to ask. And this is not the first time we're going to ask it on this episode either. Where does the money go? And some of you have heard the phrase, follow the money. Well, that's exactly what I want you to do as we are continuing talking about this. I want you to think about it and I want you to follow the money because there is a money trail.
Yes.
But for now, let's have just a little bit of fun here. So, how many of you remember those commercials where they're selling some kind of medicine? And at the end of the commercial, they speed it up to like 2 or 3 times the amount. And they start listing off all the side effects. Well, we're going to kind of do that here. Let's speed it up a little bit. Let's list all the side effects of being overweight and obese. And this is not an exhaustive list. It's going to feel like it, but it's not exhaustive. Diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, heart attacks, cancer, hormonal imbalances, weakened immune system, digestion issues, ulcers, chronic fatigue, high cholesterol, depression, irregular sleep cycles, brain fog, kidney disease, pregnancy problems, sleep apnea, gallbladder disease, body pain, and difficulty with physical functioning, mental disorders, marital problems, low self-esteem, back problems, etc., etc. Who stands to make the money from all of these health issues above, guys? Now, don't just sit there and say, duh, I don't know. I want you to sit back and think about it. Use your logical thinking. That's another thing I'm very passionate about, is teaching people how to think for themselves again. Because we've been too used to being told how to think. And this needs to change.
And how to act, which of course your thoughts lead to your actions, right?
Yes.
And which then lead to your feelings. It's all closely interrelated. And it's phenomenal. I must say, when you start looking at ingredients of what you're buying, basically anything in a packet, there's going to be some generally some extra crap added to it, right? Generally anything in a packet. And I was shocked. I bought some chai latte the other day in a little container and some turmeric latte. I thought, oh, turmeric's good for me. Chai is good for me. I didn't read closely the ingredients. The number one ingredient on both of them was sugar. I couldn't believe it. So because I tasted, I thought, gee, this is very sweet. I wasn't expecting the chai to be so sweet. So really, it's important, as healthy as it may look on the cover, and that's another big lie, is how often do you see things like, oh, no added sugar and things like that, and MSG and anything with 3 numbers in it. It's really important to read the ingredients, and some of the ingredients are so small you can barely read it, right? You almost need a magnifying glass to read some of these.
Exactly.
And that's on purpose too, right? Because they don't want you reading it.
No, in fact, they're relying on the fact that you aren't going to read it. Yet they make the words so long and so technical because they are literally relying on the fact that you're not going to do the work. You're not going to read through it. You're not going to discover what's actually in it. And sadly to say, that's exactly what people are doing. So, to that question, who stands to make the money from all these health issues? If you say you don't know to that question, I'm honestly going to say, then I would have to conclude that it's because you don't want to know and you are afraid of the truth, or you don't want to recognize the truth because that would mean you have to change your belief system as well as your habits and lifestyle. I realize that's a blunt statement, guys, but it's the truth. And that's what I'm here to bring you. I'm not here to bring you something that's soft pedaled, because this stuff, you guys, the industry is making people sick. And they're also targeting your children with this. There's a reason why the kids' menus aren't usually full of healthy choices. There's a reason why, because they're targeting your kids. And everybody's parents, we've got to come together and teach the right balance to have. And so let's move on to the next question here. Why are we not seeing big companies promote real whole foods and real nutritious foods? This goes right back again to follow the money. They can't make money off of it. I think it's becoming clear that these big food corporations don't have our health and well-being in mind. When was the last time you saw or heard an advertisement about healthy vegetables? When was the last time you saw a company, off the top of my head, advertise about the benefits of radishes? When was the last time you saw that? When was the last time you saw somebody talk about the benefits of carrots?
Well, Don Tolman is the last one, and he talks about whole food, and he's had death threats. He has had people trying to kill him, and we know there's been over 100 natural medicine doctors that have actually been killed for speaking up on this topic, and it continues. Right, they're being silenced all over the place. Watch the documentary "Cancer: The Forbidden Cures" about all the treatments of cancer that have come out over time that have been shut down by pharmaceutical industries. Anyway, do your own research on that one, right?
You know what? And that's a major point, Aldwyn. Major point. Do your own research. Do not take my word for it. Do not take Aldwyn's word for it. We are just here bringing you the truth, but that doesn't mean you treat us just like a television set. We are here because that doesn't solve any problems either. Do your research, guys. Do your digging. Take the time to look at the data yourself. Take the time to ask the hard questions. And you'd be surprised on what you're going to uncover, especially when you follow this money trail that they are leaving everywhere out there. They're not going to advertise carrots. They're not going to advertise radishes. They're not going to advertise apples. They're not going to advertise those things because it doesn't make money for them.
Exactly. And on that point, it's amazing the healing properties of vegetables and fruits. And Don Tolman actually talks about with carrots, the end of the carrot looks like your eye and it's very good for your eyes. Celery looks like your bones. It's good for your bones. Kidney beans, well, they're good for your kidneys, obviously. Tomato has 4 chambers, just like the heart, very good for your heart. We've got, all sorts of things that are really good. We've got walnuts. How much does a walnut look like your brain? And it's really good for your brain, right? So it's phenomenal. Grapes are really good for your blood cells. There's so many, like, it's in front of our face how good this food is for us. Avocados take 9 months to mature. They're very good for female ovaries and things like that. So do your own research again. It's phenomenal. Everything is provided to us in nature. And, those that, of course, that don't profit from nature as such. I mean, even Monsanto, genetically modified food, they want to take over the food sources. Interestingly, at the moment, notice if there's genetically modified food in your area. And in fact, I just saw the Jurassic movie last night, Ken, and they actually had, in the latest Jurassic movie by Steven Spielberg, there was actually a very evil organization there that actually created these locusts. They had this plague of locusts that were eating all the food that wasn't their own crop. That actually went through and was obliterating all the crops that were not from this particular company. And these science fiction type movies, there's actually an element of truth in this. It's in plain sight. It's right in front of your face. They're telling you what they're doing, and a lot of people think it's science fiction, but actually science fiction is closer to reality than you may think.
It's interesting. Once you become aware and you become awake to these things and you become smart to them, it's funny. It literally is like the movie The Matrix.
Yes.
All of a sudden, all you see around you is what the reality of everything really is. It's like when Neil finally got it and the walls and everything turn into these green numbers and he sees past everything.
Yes.
But there's also a warning with that too. As you start doing your research and you start doing your digging, you might just get so overwhelmed with information that you also do what Neo did and you puke because your head's exploding because you can't handle all of it. You realize that everything's been a lie all along and you got that cognitive dissonance thing going on. And so, and
the red pill or the blue pill, right?
Yeah.
What do you choose? A red pill or blue pill?
I took my red pill summer of 2020. So long story behind that. But there's a couple other things that I wanted to mention here as you were talking about fruits and different things like that. So the fruits, like let's take an apple. Does apple have sugar in it? Yes, it does. But it's a natural sugar that your body recognizes and your body will actually metabolize. So it's not bad for you. Now, the second thing I want to mention here is this concept out there called seedless. Going to ask a question. Let's take seedless watermelon. I'm going to ask the question. Does nature produce seedless things on their own? I'm going to say nope. Nature does not produce things that don't reproduce for them. The seeds are part of their reproductive.
Yes.
So how do we have seedless watermelons, seedless cucumbers, seedless this, seedless grapes, seedless all this other stuff? How has that come about? It's genetically modified to be that way. So the genetics of your fruits, of your vegetables that are seedless have been modified. How do you feel about that?
So it makes you wonder what would side effects be? It looks like it's a natural thing, but if it's been modified, then what is it doing to your body?
Exactly. So just two extra little points there, just something to think about, guys. Now, let's move on a bit deeper into our episode here. Why is there such a big agenda in the direction of processed foods, boxed foods, sugar-filled foods, fried food, breaded foods, etc.? And here we go, deeper down the rabbit hole. When people are overweight or obese, we already talked about the host of problems that begin to happen as time goes along. So what happens next is the health problems and the side effects from poor eating habits begin to take shape in each and every person's life. Where do they go as these health problems begin to show their nasty head? Again, this is where we're following the money again. If you said the doctor, then you're correct. I'll give you a bunch of brownie points. You can even eat the brownie too if you want. Although they may try a few more tactics before they go see the doctor, maybe a couple more diets, a couple more little gimmicks or whatever they come across. And then what do you think is going to happen at the doctor's office when they actually get there? What's the doctor going to tell them? Change your diet. But they've already tried that, haven't they? So then the next step is prescription medicines. And yeah, we can talk about prescription medicines all day, but let's keep it condensed here. We all know what happens with prescription medicines. There is a list of side effects that comes with them. And then as those side effects start rearing their head, you get more medicine. Isn't that fun? Where does the money go, guys? What about the side effects of all those medicines? Where does the money go? What about testing that has to be done to figure out what's going on with your body? Do they actually ever look at what you're really eating and what you shouldn't eat? Not always. And then maybe there's the need for surgery for health issues that the big tech food companies caused in the first place. Isn't it interesting how it's all connected? Isn't it just interesting? So who's making all the money, guys? Who is it? Do they really have your best interests in mind? These big main food brands, companies, and big pharma, what do they really care about? Because through my research, guys, it's not you. It's not us. They want us stuck. Here's another quote. This one's from an interesting website called rawrealtalk.com. And it was a very interesting article. I didn't actually cite the name of this article, but this is very, very powerful. And you can find it on their site along with a couple of other interesting things, but rawrealtalk.com. Here's the quote, guys. Fast food corporations are not the only corporations that are profiting from Americans being overweight. Healthcare companies, hospitals, private facilities, pharmacies are all profiting as well. By America being overweight, a lot of the health issues come from the types of food Americans eat and how everyday American bodies react to those foods. In the article, the dangerous effects of being overweight, Claudery states that, quote, so it's a quote inside a quote, did you know that around 20 to 30% of people suffer from cancer due to being overweight? And did you know that the heart disease risk increases with an overweighted body? Obesity and abdominal fat are another 2 risk factors leading to diabetes as well as heart disease, end quote. Reading on from the original quote, keeping Americans fat is a huge profit to organizations and corporations such as hospitals and private facilities. Americans treat these diagnoses by taking medicines that doctors prescribe, provided by pharmacies and healthcare companies. Some Americans are taking an obscene amount of meds a day in order to control diabetes and cancer. The fast food corporations and corporations that promote unhealthy foods are getting Americans fat. And then Americans are sent to healthcare companies, hospitals, and private facilities and pharmacies to treat, pay, and buy their medicine to fix a problem that these very corporations created themselves. It is literally an assembly line of profit. You have anything you'd like to add to that, Aldwyn? I'm just curious to hear.
Well, yeah, I'd like to just add here. Look, there are a lot of people who are making great money out there who are also doing great good. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with making money. However, in this particular instance, what we're talking about here, there's a lot of people profiting, and that greed behind that is they don't care at all about the people that they're serving. So I think it's fantastic if you make money and you help people with that money, and you obviously, you know, help yourself and do good. You know, there's a lot of people doing good, that social consciousness and being a social entrepreneur. It's not necessarily that all those that are making really big money are selfish and greedy and that kind of thing, although we do see a lot of it in this sick care system, right? Because obviously there's no money to be made from promoting raw foods and raw vegetables. There's no money at all to be made from that. So of course they're gonna push their stuff, and the pharmaceutical industry and the health system or sick care system is massive industry. And, you know, people will pay whatever they can to have good health, you know, and a lot of people, you know, spend their health to get wealth, and then often spending their wealth to get their health back, right? A lot of people in business particularly do this. So I just want to make a point here. It's fantastic to create wealth. However, I think it's important what the intention is behind that. And I think, you know, there is the law of karma. You know, karma is a bitch. It will come back and bite you, right? So if you are doing some dodgy things out there and you don't have others' best interests at heart and with what you're doing, it will come back and bite you. And I would say a lot of these people that are the heads of these companies are potentially hurt people, and they don't care. They're probably sociopaths, psychopaths, like we see with a lot of these sort of elite, they call the elite in the world, right? There's a lot of very evil people at the top too in this reality, this version of reality that we see, that are very, very evil. And, you know, also what's happening right now is we have a great awakening. We were chatting about earlier, Ken, the great awakening of the light forces and the dark forces coming into a new awakening where these dark forces are coming to the light now. It's coming to the light where people maybe couldn't see it before, and more people are speaking up about it. And so I think this is a really crucial topic we're talking about here. And, you know, watching this right now, you may already be aware of some of this stuff, and maybe you're not. And, you know, maybe there's people in your life that really need to hear this right now, particularly if anyone you know is on any kind of pharmaceuticals right now. My mum has dementia, and she's on tablets for her dementia. And my father is slowly sort of taking the tablets away because mum started to throw up. She's getting dizzy. You know, these are all side effects of these tablets they're giving for dementia. You know, so it's a real concern. Just notice, how is your body responding to certain pills or whatever it is you're putting into your body. I always say natural is the best policy. If you can do things naturally, that's always a better way to go than just popping a pill. And even though in the Matrix it says red pill and blue pill, they don't mean those kind of pills, right? That's a different kind of pill. Yeah, so fascinating.
There's a couple other things I want to mention here. First of all, really good point. And I'm glad you brought across that balance of money and the proper way to make a profit and the improper way to make profit. And I think you are 100% correct with making that observation. And I appreciate you bringing that balance.
Pleasure.
There's another little tidbit that I want to mention here. And I'm just going to throw it out there to you guys to think about. In one of my recent podcast episodes, when I was talking about the benefits of eggs, I ran across something, and it was not on my radar. I did not plan on talking about them at all. But I ran across something that shocked me, but sort of, I was surprised, but not surprised. I was like, okay, it figures. And this is about the American Heart Association. Did you know that 80% of the American Heart Association is owned by pharmaceutical companies?
Wow. No, I didn't know that. Oh my goodness.
So I'm going to ask you, is the American Heart Association a organization, a company that you really feel like you could trust?
No.
No. No. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going deep, but because I've dug up some stuff recently, about them, made some very interesting, surprising discoveries. They are just as corrupt as the rest of them. I'll leave it at that.
And people are no doubt donating to these heart associations and donating to these cancer research things and God knows what. And there's probably animal testing going on as well, God knows, which is something I'm totally against. Consider all the poor animals that have gone through testing with some of these companies over time as well. That the mind will boggle over some of that. In fact, watch the Earthlings DVD. That'll wake you up. If you watch, it's pinned to the top of the Conscious Community Global Facebook group, is that Earthlings documentary that was mind-blowing for me when I saw it, and in fact led to the creation of the animal action events that we've now done 15 years of animal action events since seeing that Earthlings documentary. It will blow your mind what goes on just in that field as well, with the cruelty behind some of these products. Yes.
And one last thing before we move on to the last section, which I'm actually calling the light at the end of the tunnel. And there's a reason for that, because this last section is what I also like to call the hope, because there is hope through all of this. But I also want to point out, guys, as you're looking at your food and as you're looking at the ingredients that are in there, note also how many of these boxed foods and pre-prepped foods have food dyes in them. And if you have children that have a problem with ADHD or ADD, these food dyes that are in the foods actually are active triggers for ADHD and ADD. If you do the research on the harmful effects of food dyes, you will see that in the research.
Wow.
But it's amazing how often these food dyes make it in to all kinds of different things. Interesting enough, even down to that NyQuil cold medicine that you take, it's got blue dye number, whatever that number is in it. Why do they need to put a food dye in that? So it's everywhere. And when you start paying attention to these things, it does become like the Matrix. You start seeing right through it all. And so I'm just going to give you guys caution. Watch your food dyes too, because those, they affect your body in some very interesting ways.
Yeah, because a lot of products, particularly sweet products like, cupcakes and things like that. I mean, imagine how much food dyes in some of those, the pink colors and blue colors and all those kind of things you see in cakes. Oh my gosh. And cakes are so big with kids, giving cakes to kids, isn't it? And
yes,
look at all the food dyes and the little sprinkles and, multicolored sprinkles and, things like M&Ms even, the chocolate coatings and all that kind of thing. Oh my gosh, can you just imagine what it's doing? But people don't maybe notice straight away what it's doing. But over time, as you keep taking all these toxic foods, over time, it creates disease or disease in the body. It's not natural.
Because it's not natural. Yeah. And that was another interesting recent discovery that I made a few months ago, was the dyes in cake mixes. Because my mom likes to bake. And all of a sudden one day I picked up some of her common mixes that she uses. And I'm like, did you know that this has got yellow and red dye number 40 and this and this and that? And she's like, no. She's like, they put dyes in cake mixes? And I'm like, yes. And it's kind of like, you got to ask the question, why is that even needed? It's just not needed. So cake mixes, guys. Be careful. Read your ingredients out there. There are some cake mixes out there that do not have food dyes in them. You're going to have to do a little research and really look for it. But, if you like to bake and you like to make little cupcakes and cake, fine. But be mindful of the ingredients you're using. Don't use margarine. Don't use, unhealthy fats in your foods as you're prepping them. Be very mindful of these things. Margarine is one step away from being plastic, by the way, and yet the American Heart Association recommends it.
Wow, because apparently it's gray. They dye it yellow, right? It's gray. The real color of margarine.
I've heard differing views. I heard that the original color actually was pink. from
Oh.
some article sources, which is interesting. And it was interesting to find out. Yes, I recently found out that they dye it yellow.
So it's got food dye as well in it. Oh my gosh.
Yes, margarine is the original color of margarine was never yellow. They made it look like that to make it appetizing.
Oh.
You guys, this is what I'm talking about. Is you get in there and you start researching and you start uncovering this stuff, you make some very interesting discoveries. And again, I'm going to warn you guys, cognitive dissonance is going to show up because you're going to be like, I can't believe it all my life and da-da-da-da. Have I been lied to my whole life? In some aspects, yes. I'm sorry to tell you, yes. But now, let's dive into the last section here. Because the last section, yes, is the section I like to call hope. Because there is hope through all of this. And here we go. So this is the light.
The light.
We get to embrace the journey of changing the way we think about our foods, our eating habits, and transform ourselves one step at a time. It won't be overnight. You didn't gain the weight overnight. You're not going to lose it overnight. It may take 6 months. It may take 6 years. But you get to take that path one step at a time. We're not talking about unrealistic restrictions. We're not talking about that because those also will sabotage you. They will come back and bite you every single time. We are looking to become more and more aware of ingredients and ingredient conscious. Here's a quote. The key is to make healthy choices a lifestyle and not just a one-time event. If you go on a diet or, quote, do a cleanse, but then you just go back do the same things that you did before, you are going to end up in the exact same place you started. If we want to be healthy, what we need to do is to design our lives so that we are doing the right things consistently. We need to be physically active. We need to eat healthy, lots of fruits and vegetables. And I support real meat. I know some of you may not, but I do because of the nutritional benefits that are in meats. Another topic for another time.
Yes.
And we need to avoid things that will make us fat. And I'm also going to add here inside the quote, fat does not make you fat. So yes, in a healthy eating routine, eat fat, eat saturated fat. It is good for you after all. I'm not saying overindulge, but I'm saying don't limit those out of your diet, out of your eating routine. I try not to use the word diet, even though that's a totally different context that I used it in. So in the end, it isn't that complicated. And that's the end of the quote. That's from the website. I quoted from them earlier, silverdoctors.com. Is there a multi-billion-dollar conspiracy to making Americans obese? We have been in the matrix of the industry for far too long with the foods that we eat, with the diets that we've attempted, and even with the so-called cleanses. Okay, it's time to break out of that entire system and way of thinking by creating new sustainable habits. Sustainable habits that we're not looking at implementing into our routine over the next 2 to 3 months. We're looking at having them implemented for the next 1 to 2 years. Why do I say 1 to 2 years? Here's one of my secrets in my program. Because by the time 1 to 2 years is up, those so-called new habits, new changes will now have become who you are, will now have become automatic, subconscious, and will have changed you. You won't even have to think about them anymore. That's what it means to change. One step at a time, one change at a time, one habit at a time. Otherwise, all of that out there is a big giant hamster wheel that's bringing you nowhere. All you're doing is rolling around on this wheel that's stationary. It's not going anywhere. You're wasting energy, you're wasting health, you're wasting all of that. You get to get off of that hamster wheel now and get out of the illusion that you've been in and start making better choices. And again, sustainable choices. You will never hear out of my mouth, you can't have that anymore. Okay? Because I don't think that's helpful. And I think that's the wrong way of thinking. All things in moderation, yes, because I do think that there's a balance. And I do think that there's an acceptable time when it's time to let your hair down. Go give yourself permission to let your hair down. Go out for an evening. Eat a bunch of pasta if you want for that evening. Have a couple drinks. Let your hair down. Okay? It's okay to have those occasions and give yourself permission to do that so that you're not sitting there judging yourself later. Make a time for that. That's okay. And that's actually good because sometimes that shocks your system out of the pattern that it might develop, because our bodies are very extremely adaptable and they are extremely smart. So as you're introducing changes into your life, your body's going to adapt. You're going to hit those plateaus and you get to maneuver through them. Just because you're hitting a plateau does not mean that you do what I see a lot of people out there doing, and that's throw in the towel and say, this is not working. That's part of the journey. And that gets to be part of something that you embrace. This is what I teach, because I think this is the real answer. It's not about going on a diet. It's not about going on a cleanse or anything like that. It's all about the right mindset, and it's about becoming. Some of you have heard me say this before. Becoming. It's one thing to set a goal to lose 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds, but it's a completely different thing to now become the person that's in that end goal. And that is the huge key of what I teach and what's part of my philosophy. Because if you reach the goal of being 20, 30, 40 pounds lighter, but you never become that person, actually the worst thing you can do is reach that goal. It's about becoming, transforming into that person along the way. How does that happen? Well, a very simple way to explain it is it happens in the journey, and it happens when you're embracing the journey, the ups and the downs. And the downs are more important than anything else. Because those downs, those moments where you fall off the horse, those moments where you get that flat tire and you have some delays, those moments will happen in your journey. And those are moments you get to embrace. Why? Because those are learning points. Those are opportunities for you to get stronger. They're opportunities for you to learn. They're opportunities for you to stand back and go, okay, I just grabbed after that item. What triggered me? What's going on right now? And how did I end up here? Become aware of that situation. Start asking yourself questions in that situation and figure out a way to set things in motion and in place so that you last longer till that next fall, because there will be a next fall. But again, you get to embrace that, because that's what it's about. And I think that's a concept that's not familiar to a lot of people that go on a weight release journey. They're not thinking about all the failures they're going to have along the way, because they will. And you will fall. But you get to embrace that. You get to learn that. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, when you reach that goal that you're after, 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds lighter, that's going to be great. And that'll be a little bit of a reward. But you guys, here's the powerful part of what I'm trying to give to you here. All the gems, all the gold, all the treasure is going to be back there in the journey. It's going to be at those times where you fell because you learned. It's going to be as you look back and go, I remember that. I learned this and I grew from that. I got stronger. That led to this and that led to that. Oh, I remember that. That's going to be your treasure, because that's what it's about. And this is a concept. This is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about my program and what I do, is because this is what it teaches. The weight release is almost a side effect when you're working with me, because it's all about the mindset, how you're approaching your journey, how you're looking at everything. And there are so many different angles to that mindset. It's about a lifetime journey. I sometimes like to say it's a lifetime marathon. Some people resonate with that, other people don't. But here's one of the reasons why I use lifetime marathon. It may at first sound a little cumbersome, but here's the thing. When you go and you prep for a marathon and you're at the very beginning, the starting line. When you begin running, do you just run out of the gate at the fastest pace you can and keep going? Or have you learned how to pace yourself for the long haul, for the long race ahead? No, you're pacing yourself, because you can't just go running out the gate like crazy and using up all your energy. You're going to, a fourth of the way through, you're going to run out of steam and you're falling flat on your face. I'm sorry to tell you that. And it's going to be messy. You're going to be full of mud and you're going to feel very defeated. But if you prep for that long haul and you go down expecting you're going to have delays, you're going to have speed bumps, you're going to have flat tires, you're going to fall off that horse, you're going to get muddy. Maybe you have a whole week where you're getting muddy. Do you get to quit? No. You get to learn and you get to move on and you get to go through that journey and learn and grow. That's what it's about. There's last thing I'll mention here. Carol Dweck in her book Mindset. Wonderful book. If you've ever heard of it, this little book here. Now, I haven't read through the whole thing, but I've read through enough of it to get the concept. She has, she's the creator of the two different mindsets. You have the growth mindset and you have the fixed mindset. A lot of people like to approach their weight loss journey with a fixed mindset. Here's the problem with that. The fixed mindset person forgets about the journey. They don't want anything to do with the journey. They don't want anything to do with learning. They don't want anything to do with getting stronger. Their journey is very fixed mindset. It's very static. It's like this pin that doesn't bend. And if I try to, it's going to snap in half. It's very static the way they look.
Or stagnant. Static or stagnant's another word I'd use for that. Like stagnant water, still waters.
Yeah, sort of. But your journey, you can't look at it that way. It's variable. It's got ups and downs and turns and twists and all this other stuff. And that's what the fixed mindset person misses. They miss all of that treasure that's sitting back there for them in that journey. They miss it all because they want it now. They tend to also take the mindset of, if I'm not already like this, then it's just not meant to be. And that's just not useful. It's not a useful way of looking at it. Rather, taking on the growth mindset. The growth mindset person, they look at their journey. They run into their journey embracing the opportunity to grow, learn, to get stronger, and to move forward through that journey. I think we kind of touched on this when I was talking on the Mindset series. On my first interview with you, Aldwyn, I was talking about the difference between that. But here we are again. Why? Because this is the hope of my message. This is where it all begins, and this is why it's so important and why I'm so passionate about it, because I feel like this is the fix. This is what it's about. So with that, guys, good fats, good proteins, good carbs. Yes, carbs can be good, used in the right manner, used at the right time. All of these things, and finding the right right balance, finding what works for you, what works for your body. Everybody's body is different. There is no one stop sells all. And that's why, when you get on the phone with me, we work together to customize something that's going to work for you. And it's very important. But mindset overall, you guys, is the main pillar and should be the main pillar of your journey, your weight release journey. That, my friends, that concludes what I have to say about the obesity epidemic today, and then the end part of it, the hope.
Oh, I love it, Ken, particularly the bit about it being a journey. And as you were saying, stillness, and I was thinking stagnant waters. And then I thought about the flow of a river. And I thought how a river, it's when you're in flow and say you're going down a river, and I've been whitewater rafting before.
It's so much fun.
So much fun. And when you're going down a river, it has its turns, right? However, there's flow, there's ease and grace about it. And there's an openness to adventure, an openness to really embracing this journey. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I love how you said that the hamster wheel, we call it the rat race here in Australia. They say hamster wheel in America, it's quite funny. So whether it's rat race or hamster wheel, the first thing to actually get off the rat race or off the hamster wheel is actually realize you're on it, right? Mm-hmm. And actually to step out of it, to be willing to step out of your comfort zone to create change in your life. Absolute gold here today, Ken. I've loved this show. So if people want to work with you, how can they go about that?
Well, the first place you can go to is my website, and that is www.masteryweightloss.com. And do you want me to put that in?
I'll pop that in here. That's right.
Okay.
In the comments. Okay.
So that's my website. Now there's a few things that you get to do on my website. There's a master class on the website that's evergreen, which means it's always running. Forewarned, if you register for that master class, it is about a 2-hour commitment. So make sure you block that time off, and then there's a place on my website where you can book a free assessment call with me, 100% absolutely free. And then on there's also a link to my podcast where you can go check out the last 4 deep dive episodes that I've done on there. The truth behind the obesity epidemic is one of them that's on there. Although today, what we talked about, I went into a little bit more detail that is included in that episode. But nonetheless, it's great stuff. So yeah, there's the calendar link, and then you can reach out to me via email as well. That's masteryweightloss@protonmail.com. masteryweightloss@protonmail.com. And Aldwyn also posted up my calendar link. You guys can go book an appointment with me on my calendar link. That's also on the website as well. So that's just a real good all in one place to stop and find out more about me and read through my website. There's an about page on there that talks about my journey, and there's also a before and after photo on there. That's a very powerful photo as well that's on that website. So really? Yeah, guys, and then you guys, I would love to connect with you on Facebook. Reach out to me, friend request me, send me a message saying, hey, I just friend request you. Just wanted to make sure that you know who I am. So I don't think you're some Joe Blow, because there are scammers out there. And so I'm always being very careful about that. But yes, connect with me on Facebook. And let me get that link for you, Aldwyn, for my Facebook, because I don't think I included that.
Okay, fantastic. All right, there it is there. So we've got a few links there in the chat, so have a look at those. The main one, though, where you'll find most of the rest of them is masteryweightloss.com. That's the main one to go to. And for people who want to connect with me, all my links are at linktree/Aldwyn, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. And we'll just copy over that Facebook link for Ken. So I'm sure there's not too many Ken Kleinbergs out there.
There is one that is in Lake Havasu, Arizona. And so just make sure you don't friend request that person. Okay. I am in San Diego. Now, one last thing here. I'm just wondering if anybody has any comments about today's episode. Did you guys get any light bulbs that turned on for you? Oh my gosh, I didn't know that, and I didn't know this. I would like to, in the last bit of time we have, I'd like to know what those things were if you had a couple light bulbs go off.
Yes, please let us know in the comments wherever you're watching this. Let us know what were your light bulb moments. I certainly didn't think consciously about the food dyes was a big one for me, as we're actually getting conscious to, oh my goodness, the food dyes, the sugar. Gosh, there's so much, the genetically modified, anything seedless is genetically modified. A lot of people probably don't realize that. There was so much gold in this, Ken, today. So please let us know in the comments, what did you get from this today? And if you have any questions for Ken or myself, and pop them into the comments, whether you're watching this on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Media Queen TV, and check out Ken's Patriot Fat Fighter podcast as well. He's got some awesome stuff there. We do have at the moment the Global Good News Challenge happening, Ken, and here's some exciting news. We've actually got the Good News Day is happening on the 8th of the 8th. In just 6 days' time. We've got the Good News Day happening. And anyone who does a Global Good News Challenge for this month, it's an 8-day challenge where you just do a Facebook Live or a LinkedIn Live video and just share your name, what you do, 3 things you're grateful for, and a piece of good news. Very, very simple. Most people do it in about 3 minutes. 8 consecutive days. You can start at any time between now and the 8th of August. So anyone who does one, for August, you're going to get a free ticket to my free Publicity Secrets Masterclass worth $197 Australian. That's about 150 US or so. So it's a fantastic offer. Plus, we share the videos out to about 3,000 people. We share it to our Love and Life group on Facebook, as well as our Global Good News Challenge Facebook page, and we'll add you to our special group as well. So it's free promotion for you, plus you win a ticket to the free Publicity Secrets Masterclass for completing it. So that should be a good incentive for you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to dive on that with so much value in there. Oh my goodness.
And you will feel amazing when you get into gratitude. You will feel unbelievable. It's one thing to write down what you're grateful for or to think about. When you actually speak it out, it is phenomenal how it will shift your energy, particularly if you're feeling a bit flat. I challenge you to do a Global Good News Challenge and see how you feel by the end of the challenge after those 3 minutes or 5 minutes. And I don't want to hear these excuses like I don't have time. That's crap, okay? Because everyone can find 3 minutes or 5 minutes in their day. In fact, I remember years ago when I went to a dentist, I said, I don't have time to brush my teeth. He said, well, you can't find 2 minutes a day to brush your teeth? I said, oh, yeah, you're right there. You got me on that one. That time excuse is a shocker, right? So just notice, usually underneath that I don't have enough time is I'm not confident, I have a bit of fear coming up. If you really get true with yourself about it, what has been stopping you from doing live videos? And particularly if you want to connect with people, if you want to grow your business, if you want to make more impact out there, it's important to get over yourself and get out there and take imperfect action, right? Just take some action, enjoy the journey. And it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, Ken, today. Thank you so much for sharing all that wisdom. Wow, you're such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to all of this. Is there any final words you'd like to say before we wrap up today?
Yeah, so again, you mentioned sugar, being more aware of things like that. There's an example that I give, and you guys, I'm prefacing this because I know that there's ketchup lovers out there, and I'm one of them. I love ketchup. So I am just using this as an example. I'm not saying you can never have ketchup again.
Or tomato sauce in Australia. Ketchup or tomato sauce, you say.
Or tomato sauce, whatever.
Tomato.
But it's interesting. Tomato. All right, you got me on that one.
Ketchup. Get back to ketchup. Yes, ketchup. How much sugar is in ketchup?
So we get our ketchup from Trader Joe's, and it's organic ketchup. And the list of ingredients are that they're like, I can feel comfortable bringing it in my house because of its very simple ingredients. But what's interesting is if you look on the back of the nutrition facts, it says for every teaspoon of that ketchup, it's 4 grams of sugar. Now, I'm going to use something here as a prop if I can find it. Nope. So we're just going to use an imagination. So let's pretend like this little speaker is a bottle of ketchup. Okay. So, a teaspoon, 4 grams of sugar. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you took a bottle of ketchup and before squirting it out, you measured out a teaspoon worth? When was the last time you actually did that? Nobody does that. What do? We take the bottle of ketchup, turn it upside down, and it squirts on our plate until it's this big old giant blob right there. And how much sugar?
With it,
Right. How much sugar do you think is in that big giant blob? I'm probably going to guess anywhere between 16 to 24 grams of sugar. Did you know that literally every 4 grams of sugar is just like taking a teaspoon of sugar and shoving it in your mouth? So this is just, I use the ketchup example as just an example on how quickly, if you're not paying attention, how quickly your sugar intake can get very out of hand, and you don't even know it half the time because we're not paying attention. We're not mentally aware. Now, again, I love ketchup. I'm a ketchup lover, or tomato. I love both of those too. So,
wow.
I'm not dogging it, but I am just bringing awareness. This is how things get out of control very quickly in your normal day routine, even though you're trying to be good, even though you're trying to eat all the right things, and you're making that journey and you're making it work. Something just as simple as that can get out of hand if you're not paying attention. And if you're not making allowances. Is some sugar okay? Yes, some sugar is okay. And overindulgence is not. But again, be aware. Be aware of what's going on your plate. Be aware of what's going in your body and how much of it is going in. Read your labels. Did you know that they just recently, I think it was back in 2016, started putting on the labels, added sugar, and then the percentage of your daily value of sugar? Did you know that before then, they never listed the percentage value of sugar on the labels? I find that very interesting that it was never there. They list the percentage for everything else, but sugar was never listed until, or the percentage, until around, I think it was 2016. My date might be wrong, but it was fairly recent that they changed that. And then started putting in the percentage of the added sugar. Wow. So I made that discovery a while back, and I was like, oh, now that's interesting. And then I had to go and check in my refrigerator, and sure enough, there's a couple products in there. You see the percentage on everything else, the fat intake, you see the percentage on carbs, you see the percentage on all that other stuff. Sugar did not have it. Interesting.
Yes, how interesting. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Ken. So many light bulb moments in this show. Oh, I love it. I love it. Look, thank you so much for being our guest today. We've been chatting for nearly an hour and 20 minutes already. Can you believe it? The time just flies with you. I love listening to you.
Same amount as last episode. I think last time we did this deep dive, we were on for a while.
Yes, we did go a bit longer, which is why we're now looking to do a podcast together, because we can just keep chatting away. Yes. And I must say, I love hearing your American accent, and you probably get some amusement out of my Australian accent. So.
I think it's beautiful. I love it. I love it. So I think it's beautiful.
Thank you so much, Ken. It's been an absolute pleasure. And please do connect with Ken. We've got those links again there. Make sure you check out his website, masteryweightloss.com, and you can check all of my links here on Linktree/Aldwyn. And we do have the Global Good News Challenge happening right now. You can start up until the 8th of August, and everyone who does it will get a free ticket to my free Publicity Secrets Masterclass. The next one of those I'm doing September 15. It will be Thursday morning for us, which will be Wednesday night for you, Ken, in America. It'll be 9 a.m. Our time on the 15th of September. Also, very exciting event we've got coming up, which we haven't actually announced yet officially, but I'm letting you know now. On the 30th of August at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. till 10 p.m., we're doing a late night mass media tribe show, and we're going to be talking with Davey Newen, who is a guy that runs Haya TV and is a radio host on 89.3 FM in Sydney, on how to launch your own TV show and radio show. So how to launch your own TV and radio show will be amazing. It'll be a 2-hour event. We'll have networking at the beginning. I'll be sharing a bit about how to gain free publicity. Then we'll be interviewing Davey, and you'll be able to ask whatever questions you like about setting up your own TV show or radio show, or approaching a local radio station and actually doing a show there, which is what Davey does. He has his own TV studio, plus he has also a show that's on 89.3 FM. And they have 3.5 million listeners every month on that show. It's brilliant. He interviewed me for an hour on the show recently. He wants me back in the studio now. He's interviewed some of our clients. Colin Lee the other day did a 1-hour interview with him as well. So Davey's an awesome guy. You'll love it. So that's the 30th of August, 8 till 10 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So if you look at the time now, wherever you are, just fast forward another 7 hours roughly, or 6.5 hours from now, that's when we're starting. So probably be early morning for you, Ken. However, you will be able to watch also
very early morning.
Very early morning, or you will be able to watch the replay also if you can't attend live for whatever reason. But I'd say it'd be worth getting up early for. It'd be a great gathering. And to be there live, of course, nothing quite like being there live in the Zoom room. So I'd say we'll be live streaming that Mass Media Tribe into the Mass Media Tribe Facebook group. If you're not a member of our meetup group as well, just look up Mass Media Tribe. It's all at my link tree. You'll see all the links there. And the Global Good News Challenge, all the details are pinned to the top of the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page. We also mentioned the Conscious Community Global Group. That's all linked in there as well. You'll see a heap of links there. Connect with Ken, connect with myself. As Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world. And as I say, shine bright and light up all those around you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember to pop your comments there into the chat. Share the love if you like what you've seen here today. And make sure you subscribe as well to Media Queen TV. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.